All aware, preparation for participation in the 2018 Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, Australia, has started in earnest. In light of this, all national federations whose sports are participating in the game should channel all resources towards the preparation of their athletes for the Ewase outing in Gold Coast. On our part, the Nigerian Olympic Committee, in collaboration with the Commonwealth Games Federation, has secured training scholarship for 10 Nigerian elite athletes to support their preparation for the Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games has remained our point of strength over the decades, and the Gold Coast 2018 edition should not be different. Everybody knows from what we won in Glasgow in the previous game. This time around, since we know we're in this time around should not be different. We just have to improve, even get more medals, more than the medal we received in Glasgow. So please, I want to appeal to the National Federation. This is your time. April is just by the doorstep. I know you have been preparing. It's not only today you are starting, but we have to improve. I know you may have some financial challenges, but that should not discourage you. Let us do our best with the support of the government and the private sector. Let us go to Gold Coast and ensure that we make this our country proud. It's very, very important. Furthermore, we will continue to collaborate with the federal government to ensure that needed funds for preparation and participation in the game are made available on time. Let me use this privilege to appeal to corporate Nigerian multinational and philanthropists to lend their full support to our sport development objectives, as the government cannot do it alone. I equally enjoin all national sports federations to harness the available sponsorship opportunity both internally and externally in order to ensure effective running their sports.
You're welcome back to Channel Sport this morning. We'll listen to President of the Nigeria Olympic Federation, Olympic Committee, beg your pardon, Engineer Abu Gomer, speaking on Nigeria's target for the 2018 Commonwealth Games in Australia. He's basically said it's all about surpassing the last efforts in Scotland. And joining us to discuss this on preparations and goals and ambitions, we have Chidebere Ezeani. He's in the studio now. Chidebere, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for making it down here.
It's always a pleasure.
Right. I mean, let's just cut to the chase.
Easy.
You straight up, President of the NOC says Nigeria is aiming to surpass the efforts of 2014 in Glasgow. That was 36 medals won, and he wants to win more medals now. And with everything that we have on ground, would you say Nigeria is on track to do that, or would you say Nigeria is a long way off from even matching that effort?
I think the response is in between. We're neither really on track, right, nor are we so far away from it, because some federations are getting their acts together, wrestling, taekwondo, table tennis, and then you have federations like basketball, athletics. They're, you know,
you don't know where they are.
Exactly. So it all boils down to what they eventually do with the problems some of these federations have at hand. The NOC needs to step in and make sure that some of them are doing the right things. But the truth is, athletes are never a problem in Nigeria because we always have them ready to perform at any time. All they need is consistent training and the right equipment to do so. So for me, the Olympic Committee, they have to go back and not just talk tough, but put the equipment in place. When you go to the national stadium, you see people training all the time, sometimes with the wrong equipment. When they now get to these international competitions, they do the wrong things, and you know, it all just scatters. And you know, I think the federations first of all need to get it right. If they get it right, then we can move on from there.
Thank you. That's why he actually addressed the federation and said, look, they have a whole lot to do. All of them preparing for the Commonwealth Games. They know that the target for them is to, you know, kind of have maybe up to 40 medals, because the last one was 36, right? 36. Finish 8th. And then you ask yourself, how many countries participate in Commonwealth Games? If we cannot even come first, second, no, first.
Let's not criticize
or 5th. So and you're not looking at the preparations that have not really been called. We had Daniel Gali in the studio.
Correct.
Yesterday when he talked about the fact that when you do close camping, it doesn't really help the athlete because you don't even have anybody to compete against. But if you have like a foreign camp base and all that, maybe they are in England, they can compete among other athletes, or maybe in Iran, it's easier for some of these federations. So how do they go about that when they always doing the so-called close campaign, put everybody in one place and they're just there? It'll
be very interesting to see what happens in 2018. The pictures we're seeing now, Chidebere, the NOC annual general meeting, end of the year annual general meeting, and I imagine not a lot of very high scorecards in this one. And 2018, Chidebere, I mean, what can be done differently this time and to ensure that these athletes, go into major competitions and in proper shape, both psychologically, physically, and technically as well too. I know funding will be the #1 issue to talk about.
Yeah, funding. Of course, funding seems to always be an issue. But for me, how many of these federations already have a schedule for 2018? That's where you start. Most of them don't know what they're going to do, probably till March. And then they start scrambling around for money, which is why the NOC president has come out to tell them, make your plans. If you have made your plans for the next year, then you can start from now to source for funds for next year. And of course, it's always important to have competitions, especially good ones. Closed camping is not always advisable because you keep learning the same thing over and over again, and then by the time you get on the tracks or on the field and it's not applicable or that particular thing is countered, you find that you're stuck. And of course, we're also talking about exposure. If we don't expose our athletes to international competitions, they don't know the international rules. We had taekwondo players go for championships, and some of them lost on little technicalities that they would have surpassed if they had known.
That could have got them over the line.
Yeah, if they had known this new rule existed. So for me, I think it all boils down to how much of exposure are we going to give our athletes? And of course, we know that exposure is dependent on how much money you're willing to spend on the athletes. So for me, it's a vicious circle that it just keeps going and going and going.